Welcome to another deep dive. We're switching things up a bit today, ditching the research papers and diving into something exciting, a tabletop RPG sourcebook called Three Witches.
Oh, tabletop RPGs. I like it. Always up for a challenge.
Right, and this one is all about storytelling, building a world that is both familiar but also full of surprises. It's like imagine those classic fairy tales, but with a choose-your-own-adventure twist.
I can already see how that would appeal to a dungeon master. So, source books like this, they're great, packed with details, but turning that into a campaign, that's the real trick.
Exactly, and that's where this deep dive comes in. Our listener, they're about to become a dungeon master in this Three Witches world. So think of us as like guides to the good stuff.
Guides, all right. So what's the good stuff then? What's this world all about?
Well, the document, it throws us right into this world called Maxia. And it's this really cool blend of classic fantasy with just a touch of lost technology. I think like knights, but maybe wielding, well, I don't know, some kind of forgotten tech alongside those enchanted swords.
Now, that's a combo you don't see every day. What makes you say that about this world?
They drop these little hints, like they mentioned alchemical devices right alongside ancient runes, that kind of thing. Plus, there's this playable class, the Witch, and they've got abilities that blend spellcasting with artifacts, like tech-infused artifacts. It's so cool.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Blending the magical and the technological. That's a rich vein to tap for a dungeon master.
Right. And that's what makes Maxia so perfect for this Three Witches setting. It already feels like a world of hidden depths, just waiting for players to come and uncover its secrets.
A world of hidden depths. I like it.
And speaking of secrets, let's talk about those who keep them, shall we? The Three Witches themselves. Because this source book, it doesn't just give us, stats and spells. It actually gives us a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, it gives us a feel for their personalities, what makes them tick. They feel more like characters from a good book.
Right, not just some generic baddies waiting around for the heroes to show up.
Exactly. And as a dungeon master, having that depth, those personalities to play with, it's a gift. Take the Forest Hills Witch as an example. She's obsessed with alchemy, transformation, but, and this is the cool part, not in that typical evil scientist kind of way.
Okay, so how do you play that? What's driving her then?
It's like she's driven by this thirst for knowledge, this desire to unlock the secrets of life itself. But
Okay, but that could go so many different ways.
exactly. And the document actually describes her as curious and eccentric. So you can really have fun with that.
Oh, I can see that. So are the players walking into like a tea party or a booby-trapped lab?
Could be both, right? One day she's welcoming them as guests. The next, they're scrambling to avoid, I don't know, some strange potion.
And that's the kind of tension that makes a game memorable.
Right. Because it all comes back to motivation. Why is she so obsessed with this transformation? What's the end goal for her? That's where you, as the dungeon master, you get to really sink your teeth in.
Okay, so we've got the Forest Hills Witch. She's got her thing going on. What about Desert Witch? She's got to be a little different.
Oh,
right?
yeah, the desert witch. She's a fascinating one. See, the source material, it hints at her being more than just a guardian of some ancient treasure.
Ooh, okay, so what is it, like a secret she's protecting? Something like that.
Yeah, or even trying to prevent something from being found. Something dangerous. Something that maybe the world's better off not knowing about.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good twist. So instead of just, fighting their way to the loot, the players could find themselves caught in something much bigger. Maybe they even have to team up with the Desert Witch.
And that's what makes this setting so compelling, Those lines between good and evil, they're not always so clear. Even the witches themselves, who seem like the obvious antagonists, could have these really surprising depths.
Okay, so we've got this steampunk-infused fantasy world. We've got these three witches, each with their own, agendas and personalities. But what about actually running the game? What about the mechanics?
Well, it wouldn't be a deep dive if we didn't explore those tools. And trust me, this source book, it delivers. New monsters, spells. They even introduce entire character classes.
Okay, all right, so color me intrigued, but what does that look like in practice? Give me an example.
Okay, take a look at the Curse of Eternal Night spell, right? It's not just, oh, everything's dark now. It's about atmosphere.
Yeah.
Playing on those primal fears, that sense of isolation when you're plunged into darkness.
Ooh, yeah, I can see my players freaking out already. But what about something a little more tangible?
You want monsters. All right. How about the sandworm of the scorching dunes?
Classic.
But here's the thing. This isn't just any sandworm, right? It's said to have been born from the desert witch's magic, fueled by rumors of, get this, a dragon's bones buried beneath the dunes.
Now that is epic. Okay, I can already picture this thing like erupting from the sand, throwing players around.
And you can bet those dragon bone rumors, they weren't put there by accident. What if the desert witch, she's using this sandworm, this thing of legend, to protect something?
Okay, see, now we're talking. Suddenly the stakes are so much higher.
Right. It's not just a monster fight anymore. It's tied into something bigger. And that's what makes for a truly memorable campaign.
Okay, before we get too far off track, there's another creature in here I want to talk about. The Whispering Alara, a banshee, which already we know that's going to be good.
The Whispering Alara, now she's interesting. See, she's got this whole backstory, right? A noble woman, betrayed and murdered, bound to the world as this sorrowful spirit.
Okay, now that is just tragic, but also really cool.
Yeah.
So what does that look like in the game? Is she an enemy?
She could be. Or she could be a source of information, even a guide, if the players are brave enough to face her.
Ooh. Because who doesn't love a good ghost story? Right? Okay, but I love how it ties into everything we've been talking about, those morally gray areas, the witches, the monsters, even the world itself.
And that complexity, it extends to the characters your players can become too, you know?
Oh, right. What about the witch hunter? They sound kind of hardcore.
Oh, yeah. The witch hunter, they're all about rooting out witches, eliminating magic.
Yeah.
Dedicated, driven, you could even say fanatical about it.
Okay, so given everything we know about this world, that's got to be complicated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where do they draw the line between magic and technology?
And that's a question for both you as the dungeon master and the player who chooses that path.
I like it. And it's not just about the mechanics either. It's about asking those tough questions. Why are they so driven? Where does that fervor come from?
Exactly. What happened in the past that shaped their beliefs so strongly? What are they willing to sacrifice in pursuit of their goals? These are the questions that can lead to some truly compelling storylines.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. The world, the witches, these awesome new creatures, even what kind of characters players can explore in this world. But before we wrap this deep dive up, I got to ask, what about this pact of lost technologies the sourcebook keeps mentioning? Like, it pops up, but we never get a full explanation.
Yeah, it's like just enough to get those wheels turning, right? And for a dungeon master, those little breadcrumbs, those are pure gold.
Totally. So what are we thinking with this pact? What kind of story could our dungeon master build around it?
Oh, so many possibilities.
Yeah.
But we know this world, Maxia, it's got that whole magic and lost technology thing going on, right? So what if that was the original agreement? You know, a way to keep those forces in balance.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. Like, some rules, some limits on what either side could do. And now something's messing with that balance.
Right. The three witches, maybe they're trying to break the pact or even rewrite it, tip the scales in their favor.
Oh, that's good. Unleash some kind of forbidden knowledge, something like that.
Or here's another thought. What if they're trying to protect it?
Ooh, okay. Interesting twist. So it's not the witches themselves, but something even older, even more dangerous.
And the witches, they're the only ones standing in its way.
This is giving me chills.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got all these layers now, but where do the witch hunters fit into all of this? If there is this ancient pact and it needs protecting, do they even know? Are they, like, stuck upholding an agreement they don't even understand?
Now you're asking the really big questions. And that's what's so great about this Three Witches source book. It gives you all these threads to pull on. You could weave an entire campaign around this pact, you know?
Yeah.
Who created it, what its true purpose was, and what happens if it's broken.
This is exactly what I was hoping for. See, this is why we do these deep dives, right? Because even just talking through it, those ideas, they just start sparking.
Absolutely. And for anyone about to run a game in this Three Witches world, my advice is this. Don't be afraid to make it your own. The source book, it's a springboard, it's a starting point.
It's like they're giving you all the ingredients, but you get to be the chef. You get to decide how it all comes together. Well, Dungeon Master, there you have it. Your deep dive into Three Witches is complete. But the real adventure, that's just beginning. So go out there, create something amazing, and maybe drop us a line to let us know how it goes.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it.
Until next time, happy gaming.